this summer, I'm looking forward to, I guess, camping at the beach.
I'm Nicole. My name is Renee. I'm looking forward to gardening.
My name's William, first name Dan. What I'm looking forward to this summer is, it's like right on the edge of summer, but Blink 182 is playing in Baltimore, so I'm definitely going to that. So.
My middle name is Catherine, my first name is Emma, and I am looking forward to going to Flower Mart this year.
My name is Mary, middle name not given. And I'm just looking forward to the heat.
My name is Neelam. My middle name is courtesy of the Social Security Office, which is Devi. My middle name used to be my last name, but the Social Security Office thought that everybody in my family should have the same last name, so they made my last name my middle name. And I'm looking forward to the art show that is going on at the BMA. Anifa, that's it.
My name is, middle name's Anthony, David Anthony. I'm looking forward to eating a bowl of ramen noodles one day. If it ever happens. I told the other half.
You stole mine. How was that?
Is there something in the way of that?
Soon.
Soon,
The
hopefully.
owners are just too particular.
There's 3 owners and they're just,
They're all designers, so everybody's
they're all
trying
trying
to
to
make it
design
cool.
It's like,
I see.
We finished everything we're supposed to do on
it's
the list.
taking longer than.
Oh, right, yes, I get it, okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Well, my middle name is Roy. Everybody calls me Roy, so my first name is Robert. And, actually, I'm looking forward to a tasty bowl of noodles. And spring, I just love gardening spring.
My middle name is Junior. My first name is Ainsley. And I'm looking forward to playing soccer this summer.
I don't have a middle name. Was there another one? L'Oreal. And I'm looking forward to taking time off.
My middle name is Hrynick, Hrynick. My first name is Beatrice, but I'm also known as Bia, but you can honestly call me anything as long as it has like a B in it and it's not mean. And I'm looking forward to making art during the summer and just watching the world be green.
Am I last one? Yes. Oh, okay. Hi, I gather from what I've heard so far, it's middle names. Mine is Abdel Aziz, which is my dad's name. And my first name is Nariman. And I just bought a house, so I'm like, yeah, really just got out today. Yeah. Was there any other prompts?
I guess we got Hannah and Isaac over there.
Well,
Or wait.
I'm Lee, Hannah Lee, and I'm looking forward to my sister's graduation next week. It's a really pretty butterfly.
John, first name Isaac. My mom gave me a boring middle name in case I was uncomfortable with my first name. Also, interestingly enough, my name is not Oscar, but I have a neighbor who's been calling me Oscar for 3 years, and last week she finally learned that she had been calling me the wrong name the whole time. And she had been doing it for so long that I wasn't comfortable correcting her. And then a neighbor was like, oh, you should ask Isaac about that. And she's like, who's that? And she was like, the guy you were just talking to. So it was an awkward moment, but it was also very funny. I knew it was going to happen. As far as what I'm looking for this summer, I am looking forward to going from a household with 2 working parents to a household with 1 working parent, as my wife is a teacher, and she will not be working in the summer.
Cool. So anybody else that hasn't gone that would like to about middle names and what you're looking forward to?
Wait,
So-
what are the prompts?
So the prompts are middle name or middle name that would be neat, and what you're looking forward to this summer or in general.
Middle name that we need.
That would be neat.
Oh, that would be neat. Oh.
Just open it up for other options.
You don't want to share your actual middle name.
Well, I don't really have a middle name. But,
If you did, what would it be?
oh, I've been thinking about that a lot actually, because I'm probably gonna legally change my name soon, or whenever I get enough money to, I have to pick a middle name in that case. I'll get back to you.
We'll put it on the schedule for the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Looking forward to, having just generally less stuff to do, not because of any other reason other than I have chosen to stop doing as many things as I was doing.
Middle name is Wilson, first name Matt. I'm looking forward to hearing all you beautiful people talk tonight.
So first, let's dive into the establishing roles. So we have a greeter tonight.
Hi.
And then, are you taking notes?
I am indeed.
Would anybody like to do facilitation this week? Okay, so I will.
Our facilitator extraordinaire is taking the month
Yeah, so I will facilitate. Does somebody that I emailed the draft, or the agenda to have it in a form I can look at? I only have the rough draft in front of me here. I'm like, this is basically just like typewriter.
off. I can, yeah.
I can text message it to you.
Cool. But in the meeting, in the meantime, to start it off, Isaac, would you be able to speak to
Yeah.
the memorandum of understanding?
For sure. So, this has been a point of conversation within the board. Some of you may know Mimi's Liquors, 2600 block of Greenmount. They are changing liquor license owners. So I don't know if the establishment itself is changing hands, but the liquor license will be changing hands this month. There is a hearing later this week, and traditionally, we have had a memorandum of understanding with the owners of the liquor stores in this area, because liquor stores are oftentimes points of friction. And so a memorandum of understanding it's one step below a contract. And the way that the Baltimore or Maryland Liquor Board is structured, they put a high priority on community engagement with liquor selling establishments. And so we are essentially not just able to, but encouraged as a community to be part of the hearing process, or at least to make our voices heard. And the memorandum of understanding is a way that we can essentially formalize our agreement or understanding with the person who is purchasing the liquor license. So I've been in contact with the attorney for the purchaser. I have a draft of a memorandum of understanding that we've used for other establishments in the neighborhood. And essentially it outlines some basic parameters and expectations. And these are things like have working lights outdoors. If they're not up to standard, they need to be updated within the first several weeks. Have cameras that are accessible by, for example, the Baltimore City Police Department. Have agreements about cleaning up trash, about preventing loitering, about not having drinking inside or outside of an establishment that is a liquor store, a lot of things along those lines. So I have this liquor license memorandum of understanding, and I'm gonna just walk through the high points very quickly. This is what I'll be sending to their attorney tomorrow, and hopefully, because this is relatively boilerplate, there won't be any problems. Like I said, I did speak to the attorney, but we're doing this on behalf of the community association. And if this happens, if they agree to it, which generally they do, and if they don't, we can actually ask for a delay on the transfer so that we can make our voices heard. So it's in their interests to agree to this. And it's not onerous, we're just asking them to be good owners, basically. I'll walk through this very briefly, but because this is a community association, we want to do this publicly as a part of a group activity. And if there are points that you guys think should also be included, we can also tuck those in here. We're not going to put a whole lot of time into this right now, but I'm absolutely happy to talk about this at the end of the meeting. And we're not trying to steamroll this process. We're a few steps behind because this is new to me, this is new to several of the board members, and although this has happened in the past, this is the first time that this particular board has had to deal with this. So the responsibilities, there are it's alphabet rather than numerical, but the exterior appearance should be kept clean, tasteful, and inviting. Exterior lighting should be maintained and in proper working order. If they're notified that a light is out, they have to correct it in 72 hours. Security cameras have to be installed outside and inside the property. Live footage of those cameras should be available to the Baltimore City Police Department. That has to be done within 10 weeks if there are not cameras. There are. I actually stopped by there today to check. But if they want to put cameras on the side, then we can also include that as what's covered. Litter and trash, so they would keep the property and its immediate adjacent sidewalks free of litter, debris, and trash. Illegal activity, which includes public drunkenness, fighting, and suspected drug transactions. Drug paraphernalia, the licensee shouldn't sell, offer for sale, or advertise the sale of any type of drug paraphernalia. Also, the licensee should be in compliance with all applicable state and local laws and regulations. No on-site consumption. They have to provide us with a designated contact person that if they change that contact person, they have to let us know within 24 hours. And then the last is a good neighbor line, which is licensees shall make every effort to ensure that the establishment is a positive member of the community upon receipt of notice of community concerns, including but not limited to loitering, littering, noise, illegal activity, and so on. They also will make any needed repairs or adjustments and contact the Baltimore City Police Department for assistance, which is to say they're responsible for calling 911 rather than just waiting for problems to leave. And then in return, we agree to provide a contact person and use that as a channel for communicating any concerns that we have. And then if there is a breach of this, it can lead to a civil court action. Really, the ideal of this is that the ideal here is that we are making our expectations known to the person purchasing this liquor license, and the expectation is that this will be mutually beneficial. We can't charge them with a contract violation because this is an understanding, it's not a contract, but we can certainly make things very difficult for them. We can report them to the Liquor Control Board. The Liquor Control Board is aware of this. I had a conversation with the point of contact there as well. Outdoor drinking is something that the Liquor Control Board monitors for as well. So if we report it to the Liquor Control Board, they will pay extra attention. And there are a limited number, for those of you who don't know, a limited number of liquor licenses available in the city. A liquor license is a very valuable commodity, and it represents a pretty substantial investment. And so the threat of losing that liquor license is generally enough to make a liquor store owner comply. So that's the general overview of the situation with this MOU, this Memorandum of Understanding. If anybody wants to raise any points or questions, I want to open it up. If there are extra items that are not on this, because this is like I said, this is one we had with another liquor store. There are other items that you can also put in there. For example, they have the legal right, I believe, to stay open until midnight to sell packaged goods. But we could put a 10 p.m. parameter on that. try to get them to agree to that. And that's just one example of something that actually would be a bit more binding. If they had an agreement to close at 10 and they stayed open until midnight, that actually would represent a violation of their obligations as a liquor establishment. But, so I just want to open it up to the group to see if anybody had any comments, questions, suggestions, especially those of you who have dealt with this before.
Is it possible to put a modernization clause in?
A modernization clause?
Yeah, cause like I've seen the liquor stores and it's like, ooh, it's like it's not welcoming. It's like I would never go in there, you know. It's like if it's a liquor store for the whole neighborhood, it shouldn't be just for people who are brave enough to go in. I think it should be like somewhere where everybody should feel comfortable going in. That's just a thought.
So speaking as myself, not as the president of the association or as the facilitator for tonight, but so speaking for myself, two things that come in mind. One is drug paraphernalia might be obsolete wording nowadays, just among other issues with that. And then the other would be, I think, so I don't know what the deal, I think businesses open late at night, even liquor stores might be a net reduction in street crime to everything closed at night. And I think there's sometimes counterproductive legislation around earlier times. So I don't have all the data on it though, so I'll just say that I have consternations around time limits for closing early.
This, by the way, doesn't specify an earlier closure.
Right.
It's just a point that some places will make. It was
Gotcha.
mentioned to me by the point of contact at the liquor control.
Yeah, are there other thoughts about sort of both like broad and also detailed?
Yeah, I got a question. I guess in terms of area, what's the range, I guess that the document handles in terms of like the liquor stores? Like is it only within the boundary of Harwood, or does it like, are those documents sent out like to the surrounding neighborhoods as well?
So this is very specifically a community issue. Like that's where our mandate comes in to be involved in this fashion. The expectation is that every community will have some measure of say over how a liquor store operates to a certain extent, as it affects the broader community. So this liquor store in particular falls basically within the boundaries of Harwood, and so that's why this is on our docket as opposed to a broader concern.
Okay. And also, just like as a follow-up, is like in terms of this document, is this only really concerning liquor stores, or are similar documents sent out to other businesses as they open up in the neighborhood?
This is very specific to this liquor store. It's actually specific to this license.
Okay.
The transfer of this license, because when licenses are transferred, there's actually a public hearing, because it's considered to be part of the public good, to a degree beyond a conventional business. And because the liquor is more closely regulated.
Okay.
So yeah, this is, I mean, we actually have memorandum of understanding with other businesses in the community, and with other community associations. Honestly, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but when I was digging through older correspondence, I saw several other memoranda of understanding with establishments that were not liquor stores.
Okay.
I have some someone's ringing the bell down as the greeter.
I can go.
Thank you. I think a little concern with increased surveillance, especially giving access to PPE to increase surveillance of the neighborhood. I'm wondering if is that part of the current memorandum with the liquor store as it was before?
I could not find a copy of the previous MOU with this specific liquor store, but it was consistent in both the sort of templates I was given 3 different templates. The issue has to do with, essentially if any type of criminal activity happens at the store, because the store is considered to be sort of the node, that provides an opportunity to identify what happens. So I think more intended to be maybe retroactive. I certainly understand concerns over surveillance policing. I think we all understand that there is that law enforcement tends to take advantage of those opportunities in ways that may not be actually helpful for the community. But yeah, in this case, I think maybe, and again, this is just me hypothesizing, maybe it has to do with the idea that if this does become a focal point for criminal activity, and not necessarily even criminal activity in the drug transaction, but in terms of violent crime, that this could be used in the same way that the police department have been making use of people's doorbell cameras when a crime is committed. But obviously, on the other hand, it could also be used for, the furtherance of the war on drugs, as it were.
What do you think are the next steps for us?
Honestly, if anybody feels strongly about this, I'd love a chance to talk about this tonight. Again, I'm really sorry about the short timeline. The hearing is Thursday, and I'd like to get this to the attorney tomorrow, because if we're going to file any sort of dispute or protest against the transfer, it would also have to happen before it would probably have to happen tomorrow, actually.
72 hours.
72 hours, yeah.
Are there any strong?
Just a question, since I don't live in the neighborhood, how good a neighbor has the current owner been, the current licensee?
He's been on.
Terrible?
That's why he's had continual MOUs.
Okay.
Can we request meeting the new point person and the owner, or at least one?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to at least establish this MOU and then have him come and talk to us. I think that's important.
Yeah.
But I think having this baseline established, because he has been an awful neighbor. And that's why the first one was instituted like 7 years ago.
Right.
So I think everybody, it's good for them to understand that there are some boundaries they're gonna have to maintain. And it's good for us to meet them, and have a conversation with them if they'll come. Because we have another liquor store, and that owner has participated in the meetings, and he has truly straightened up his act. So our MOU with him really made a difference. So, we'll see. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, just what you said, Scotty comes to the
Yeah.
meetings.
Scotty's
Maybe that
wonderful.
should be in the MOU, that the person on the liquor license has to come to the meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then they're seeing you,
That's true.
you can all bring something up to the right at the
Sure.
meeting. I think that-
On a regular
yeah,
basis, too.
That's a
Scotty,
great idea.
up until COVID, Scotty came to almost every meeting. And so he's an excellent contributor to the organization. When we have events, he brings food for us. So he's excellent. And I think he realizes we want him to be a part of it. And we like Mimi's, but Mimi's has just been disrupted since forever.
Yvonne, also a question. Has that ever been a requirement that they attend? Have we ever tried to use that before?
No, we welcome them to attend, because they are a part of the community. We don't want to isolate them. We want them to understand that being in this community comes with some caveats, that they will be expected to comply with.
And you, also with more history on this, is this the same person who applied before? I was trying to read through the history of the email communication.
I think they've had, since I've been involved in it, they've had 2 other license changes.
Okay. have those made any difference in terms of?
Somewhat, but I think it's like anything else. If we don't show them by reporting them, then nobody knows.
Right.
The MOU can be there, but if no one's taking the time to report the offenses that they see,
Yeah.
then it's a piece of paper that's registered for them. So I think part of the problem is they straightened up for a while, and people stopped making inroads
Right.
when they saw things happen.
So we have, I think we should probably move on pretty soon to the other items
Sure.
on the agenda. Is there's some, I heard some concerns for things from some of the specific details. I'm also hearing the sentiment that it's like important for us to build a relationship with this new owner so that they know that we care about the community and we want them to have, to like be interested in what the community feels about them. Could we send out sort of a generic language MOU with subtracting all of the things that have been mentioned as concerns today, and then
I will say, when dealing with a lawyer, taking things out before you send something to them makes it much harder to put them in later. It is a negotiation.
You should
So
always put
if
the
we
language.
are conceding before we contact them, then if we want those things later, we will not get them.
There's always a benefit to putting the stronger language in, because a lot of people will listen to that. It's like anything, when your kids are bad, you have to come off more as a disciplinarian, and then you can back off when you see that they've got that behavior set. But in this case, they have to know that we are going to be involved, and that's the bottom line.
The other thing we may be able to do is petition for a delay and ask them to meet with us. I don't know how successful that will be.
I think because we're so close to the hearing, that may be denied, because the hearing is Thursday, and this paper has to be there within 72 hours, or it's null and void.
which is what, right now? I
That-
guess it's right now,
Right, it
72
has to
hours
go
in advance.
in at least
So-
tomorrow,
Yeah.
tonight, really, it should go in, it should be in today. I mean, Matt can tell you whether they're gonna accept it or not, if we don't get it in. But my suggestion is that we send it in tonight. Contact Matt and let him know that we sent it in, because we want to discuss it, and then move on from there. We can always amend it, via the liquor board, if there's something that comes up and you feel like they've been a good steward and you want to amend it, then you have that opportunity to amend it. But I think we should start off, in my opinion, I'm just speaking as one person here, we start up with the hammer. And if we don't need the hammer, then we back off.
And Matt did say that the MOU can be in negotiation
Right,
status
right.
when this goes through. So yeah, I would like to send, that's why I would say anybody who has strong feelings about this, if we can talk about it at the end of the meeting, because I think that this is probably not the most efficient format, and I also know that I don't want to steamroll this process. I do think there are legitimate concerns, viable concerns, but yeah, so let's, maybe those who are particularly invested in this idea and feel strongly about this, let's talk about it for a few minutes afterwards, and I will,
All right, yeah, let's do that. So let's close this meeting, this item now, and then let's end the meeting at least a few minutes early for that to then take place at the end. Cool, so next item is City Hiring Fair, May 19th. So basically the item is just that that's happening and that many city offices are hiring people. I know that Allison was passionate about this, but isn't here today. Does anybody have any other details about the city hiring fair that they want to chime in about?
It's not youth works, it's not for young, it's for everyone, it's not for,
Yeah.
it's not for younger people, okay.
Yeah, it's for everybody.
it's wide open. And also keeping in mind, this is for people you know, the city has changed its requirements. It's no longer requiring a college degree for many of the jobs. So people with some college education, but a high school diploma for many positions, it's, the college degree is a formality anyway. So if you know people who are looking for jobs, high school graduates, and people who, I will make sure to find a link and put it on the notes when we circulate this.
And also, if anybody needs help with the application process itself, we have representatives from the Mayor's Office of Employment Development at the Waverly branch Monday and Tuesdays.
At the
Waverly branch of library.
So we have they call them career development facilitator from the MOED office.
Cool.
They're there every Monday and Tuesday, that's good to know.
Yes, they used to be there every Monday through Thursday, but starting this week, they'll only be there at Waverly branch Monday and Tuesday, and at Central Library Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. So the next item is, so there will be another dumpster day on May 20th. So our last dumpster day, Savannah did a lot of the point person organizing for that, and I think it went extremely well. Got a giant dumpster full of stuff. Yeah, so if anybody is interested in helping out with that, I'm sure that Savannah could use more volunteers like last time. Yeah, is anybody, I'm not sure what the process is, should be for plugging that together. Do you have an idea?
You can contact me and we can talk together with Savannah. I can give my phone number to anyone, just approach me afterwards.
You said that was the 20th?
The 20th.
Do you have the street location for that?
Is that Barclay?
I believe it'll be the same one.
Oh.
But I
don't think so.
I think it's 27th and Boone this time.
Oh, thank you.
I believe.
Yeah, I think Kyle got a different location for each one to make sure that the numbers are better.
Good.
Whatever process worked then should work again, 'cause it worked well.
Yeah, I loved it.
The only thing that could have made it better was better weather.
I'll put the correct address in the minutes. when I circulate.
Cool. Our next item is Waverly Farmers Market table. Isaac, would you be able to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, very simply, Waverly Farmers Market, if they have available space for communities, they do allow us to put up a small table, if we let them know ahead of time. And it's a great opportunity if we want to attract more people, if we want more people to know about the meetings, and also our other events, including the dumpster day. It's a great opportunity. We could also consider connecting with some of the other community associations to have like multiple people on the table promoting multiple community associations. I think it's an underutilized resource, and we don't necessarily need to be there every Saturday, but I think being there the Saturday before a community association meeting is always worthwhile if we want to bring in more people, because everybody goes to that farmer's market up here.
Yes, if anybody also wants to pitch in and come help table with us, that'd be really fun. Matt, one thing that we live stream would be nice to talk about. If you want to talk a little bit about live streaming.
Sure. So might have noticed camera here. We've been recording these meetings as a mission of access for everyone. And so one option we have to kind of improve that access is to do live streaming of these events. That is the type of thing that comes with questions like do we collectively want to actually live stream these things? Because right now what we're doing is I'm recording them and then I'm just posting them on the community association's YouTube page. But if we do want to live stream these things, we can. And I even got the internet password today, and so I've technically proven that it's possible in this room. So that's kind of a cool thing. If we did do that, personally, I would like to see some kind of, this is the type of thing we can embed on our page. Like if we do it through YouTube, it's like accessible to everybody and people can just come and see these events. So I'm totally willing to do that. If the community association wants something like that to happen. That said, if we are interested in there being like dialogue back and forth with other with virtual participants, I would definitely need another person to say, like the same way we have a note taker, there would need to be somebody who just acts as like the voice. That way I can keep like, you know, operating the camera and stuff like that. But this is an option that we have. And actually, if we do things like organize our social media and like put out a blast every time, we actually can go like, hey, we reached, you know, 600 people in our email list right now, just in case, you know, so everybody kind of has that opportunity to go, oh shit, I want to catch this meeting real quick without having to come here. So that's kind of my brain dump on it, but I'd love to hear thoughts and questions. Mike, I don't know.
Nothing on like the logistical side of the streaming, but is there, I mean, I haven't engaged with any of the official like copy for this community group, but if you're gonna have, even if things are being posted online, but especially if they're being streamed online, having some sort of like note for anybody coming in that they will probably be filmed and broadcast. I'm not quite sure.
Disclaimer of some type.
Yeah, like a disclaimer, because it might be a little much to get like, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, from like every single person that comes in, but if that is something that could be done, that might be valuable for like people's personal privacy and things like that. Or just maybe even just setting up the camera angle in such a way that it mostly shows the board members or like a part of the area that's like people that agreed to be on film and stuff.
Current policy, and forgive me, we kind of got let in late and I totally forgot to do it actually. We've generally been doing a verbal announcement that we're recording, and we do a lot space for people to sit off camera if they don't want to be. That's the current thing. I think signs are cool too. The verbal before the meeting starts feels the most like definitely everybody understands what's happening. But I second that. I feel the same way. I hate recording. I only prefer to record people who want to be recorded.
Yeah, a sign would be good just even for people to come in late and miss the verbal.
Yeah. Oh, it could be just a piece of paper next to the sign-in sheet. But, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And maybe like a clear designation of like where is the off-camera, out-of-frame zone.
Me right now.
I would say though to integrate it into the group as much as possible so that there's like, it's not like people don't get to be sitting in the circle if they don't want to be on camera. Like,
Yeah.
So, just to confirm, I'll need your ID so that we can put your statement on record. Honestly, the reason why I raised this in the board meeting is because there are obviously people who can't make it for a variety of reasons. We had considered doing childcare, something that there was not a need for, or at least we weren't hearing a need for it. But doing streaming was another opportunity to make this meeting more accessible, which was why I had raised the question. And it's worth mentioning to people, if you know other people in the neighborhood. I mean, obviously, how many people are in this neighborhood?
2,000? A little under 2,000.
Yeah, like a little less than 2,000 people. I mean, if we could get, you know, pulling a number out of my ass, like 20 people to watch virtually that couldn't come here, I mean, you know, that would be great. I think that's, you know, that's like a 70% jump in essentially attendance. So on the other hand, it does represent work, and especially if we want to make it a two-way street, which I think is part of where the value comes from. So I think this is not necessarily something we have to answer this week, but it is something that's worth asking around. If you know of other people who are oftentimes here but sometimes aren't, if you know people who've thought about coming here, raise the question, is this something that you would make use of if it was an option?
Just to add, like 20 people is like, when we do events where like there's 300 people in the audience, like 20 to 50 people actually is pretty legit. Like I'm talking about like major institutions, they're like, oh, we got 30 people a day, all right. You know, because it's still like this burgeoning thing kind of in that sense. But so yeah, if there were 20 people, I would mark that as like a high success. Right now we're averaging about 12 to 13 views per recording. But that's also without really sharing it around. So I'm amazed we actually did that. Yeah.
One
Those are all
logistical.
made, by the way.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Oh, that's all I do with them.
Yeah, I just cracked my head 8 years and then just keep going.
This is my first time coming to one of these, so I don't know how any of y'all setup works, but you probably just have one of the roles every meeting be like the chat moderator, and if that person has access to like the minutes, they can just like paste them into the chat if anybody's asking for them and like answer questions, and maybe that's like their one role, so they're not like distracted from doing other stuff. And that might be enough to just like maintain the stream. Usually if you only have a couple people watching the stream and only a couple people asking questions, I can't imagine that would take that much like work to be doing.
I don't think it would. I don't think, the main thing is that while I'm focusing on just like shifting the camera back and forth, I know I will forget to look at the comments at a certain point, you know, so I just wouldn't wanna fall short of that.
And the other thing is, like last month, we had a very lively conversation, and it could be that we would have a guest or a topic that is of like much greater interest, that all of a sudden, we go from having, 3 people to having 20 people who all want to be heard. So, yeah, I think you're right, that like a designated moderator would be necessary in those situations, for sure.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. So our last big item is a couple.
I'm just noticing the time, is that our last stuff?
Well, yeah, so there's a couple items, but our last, a couple of small items, but first a little bit larger one, sort of a couple issues all smushed together in one. So succinctly, it's dues, bylaws changes, and voting, and also fundraising. So, okay, so per our bylaws, to be a voting member of the Harwood Community Association requires paying dues. There are some downsides to dues, like slight discouragement of participation, but also not quite enough income from it to give us substantial funding. However, we do need funding. So we do need money, and dues help us pay for things like food, which we have today, and help yourselves to pizza, please. Space costs, like this space costs money every month. Web stuff, and also more funding would give us more flexibility on options. So pros and cons to dues and also the need for money. Some ideas are circulating about things like sliding scale payment, the waiving fees for certain demographics, perhaps senior citizens. There's other, it'd be interesting to pursue other funding opportunities, other ways of like raising funds, and whether it's, we have often in our grants embedded in a piece of it is logistics costs for us that I think haven't been used historically, but could be and maybe should be. I think we have pretty strong need for some of that, but then also other fundraising efforts might be good. So our last election also was a little bit informal, and so it wasn't made a requirement to be a dues paying member to vote in that election. Very fun vibes, very casual, but also it'd be nice for our next election to be more formal and for people to have a very clear understanding of the structure of it in advance, and to make sure it's clear to everybody how the process works. And also any changes that we do to dues will require bylaws changes. And per the bylaws changes, one must be a dues paying member to vote for the bylaws changes. So I would like to, I know that that's a lot, but I would love to have an open discussion about this subject matter, sort of a brainstorming values, strong feelings in any direction, etc. Not as a way to make a decision right at this meeting. I actually see this as like a gradual thing, and so we shouldn't feel in a rush. But yeah, so open values discussion and strong feelings about dues policy, funding for the group and fundraising ideas, and the election process for the end of the year.
I have just maybe a process question background. In terms of maintaining roles, ROLLS rather than ROLES, is there somebody at this point who is responsible for keeping track of who is or isn't a dues paying member? how integrated into that?
That would be the secretary.
Sarah is.
Okay.
The secretary. would-
The secretary? Okay. I wasn't sure if that was the secretary or the treasurer.
That was the secretary that keeps track of all the individuals.
So the
treasurer keeps track of the money.
Right.
But the secretary should have a running list of prior members and current members based on their collaborative conversation between the treasurer and the secretary.
Then just to add on to what Mike has said, one of the things that's been suggested is like a business membership. And again, all of these things would require bylaws changes. Possible tiers, whether they're tied to, senior citizen status or anything like that. But yeah, if we are going to be fully dependent on dues alone, we're gonna be in big trouble, either way. But this does represent time from all of the board members and from all of the attendees. And so I think that making sure that this is an organization that stays in the black, so that we can maintain our status is in all of our interests. So, I just want to second, all of Mike's comments. This is intrinsic to how we operate. So any thoughts you have, it's not going to be settled tonight, but any thoughts you have are I think, worthwhile and important.
I was just gonna say, I do think that as part of being cost prohibitive, like, I'm definitely a proponent of like an honor system, like, I can't actually afford this $10, like, cause, can you imagine somebody actually taking advantage of that? But also, as a business owner, I'm totally a proponent of businesses maybe like having a different tier dues, be that more like, saying I would do that as a business owner, if it makes sense. And then the last thing is like, just mentioning Baltimore Community Foundation, they have like a shit ton of grants. And I'm sure people have already looked at it, it's just I'm looking at one right now, so it's like top of my head. But that's it, that's all I have to say.
But definitely having a sliding scale for dues is definitely a good idea to do. I don't know really what the parameters you guys want to use in order to kind of determine that. But I used to be I was a treasurer for my fraternity in college, so I know how hard it is trying to get people to pay dues. So definitely having like a sliding scale or some sort of payment plan for dues is always a good idea to do. And as far as fundraising, maybe you could try and work that in with the Harwood community or the Waverly Farmers Market. Maybe try and do some sort of fundraiser while you guys have the table there. That could be another stream of income.
Cool. Question is the, I'm sorry, excuse me.
This is just a very quick idea, but it doesn't solve the income problem, but maybe does with like participation, is that if there's an alternative to paying dues, such as like working and volunteering and like, cleanups, whatever, like sweat equity, if you will, for people who just, the money's tight, but they want to participate.
Or even like a couple of scholarships each year that are like, okay, we have this number of kind of free memberships that we could offer to folks who, for whatever reason, are not able to pay dues.
What are dues? 20?
10
bucks.
10 per household.
10 per household per year.
Per year.
Per year.
That's pretty reasonable.
Very manageable.
Yeah, very manageable. I just, I think some people are just against paying for things that they feel they shouldn't have to pay for. But I think, to be solvent, we also have to be supportive of that $10 because grants are grants, but they come in when they come in and not necessarily when you need them. And so you always have to be cognizant of that fact that people who participate have to be a part of that fundraising. And their fundraising comes in the form of their dues.
So I used to work in fundraising, just recently changed careers, and I wonder, and we used to always have this problem of kind of almost like soft membership cancellations, where because people would just forget to re-up, or their credit card would expire and they'd get a new one and they'd forget to like update their credit card number. So I wonder even if just keeping track of when people change their, had paid their dues and a year later, just reminding them, like if that would just make a difference, you know?
Yeah, we used to do that, we used to send, cards to people, you know, letting them know that their membership was coming due, you know, so they would know. And a lot of times they would come to the next meeting, check. The reminders do help, they used to help, you know, hey, we've gone through COVID, nothing is the same, so, you know.
Have you guys ever thought about holding your meetings at the library? Because the library offers community meetings for free to use to the community associations. But the only restriction is that you can't talk about money at the meeting. And the other thing is like you would have to leave when the library closes. So that's another option.
Do other neighborhood associations in the area also charge dues?
They do. So we're not the cheapest and we're not the most expensive. We're sort of middle of the road. Yeah, there's $5, $10, and $15 seem to be the most common prices.
And we've been at that level for years. I mean, $10 has been our fee for the last 15 years.
Would we ever consider raising it, even just by $1 or $2 or two?
But
Okay.
again, if we're having problems getting to that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, there's a donate button on the website. If anybody wants to pay more, to right there, you are more than welcome to do that.
Sure, it's tax deductible.
It is.
It is.
You know, Maya and Russell are,
I can ready the donation.
So do a 50-50 raffle.
so actually raffle's not a bad idea.
Yes.
And so one thing that's attractive to me is the idea of theoretically something like a bake sale or a raffle or some other, you know, maybe an art sale or a yard sale.
Services, people like offering up, like, their body
Absolutely.
workers, salons, people who just, you know, like offer up their services. Like a raffle item isn't always like an object, sometimes it's like a service, like if you're a body worker, you can raffle off like an hour or, you know, time. If you're a therapist or a psychic, a tarot reader, you know, just anybody that provides a service can raffle that off as well.
That's awesome. Did I see other?
No, she made a suggestion at the market.
Oh, yeah, just
Having
like,
something
someone else
there.
mentioned it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, having just like a jar that might
Jar,
even just bring in a
right.
few extra bucks.
Awesome.
Do you mind if I ask how much it costs to rent this space?
Is it $50 a month?
It's $50 a month. And it's a nonprofit. The city, this building, this community center is a nonprofit, so every dime we bring in helps us with our programming for the kids. So, that is extremely worthwhile. And we appreciate the support, because we have people that rent it in the weekends, other companies, yoga classes, so it is open for all those things. Receptions, except we can't have any alcohol.
Cool. Any other? Yeah.
Well, just to build up, one of the items that was mentioned is this idea of any grants that we manage to win, we do use a pass-through, which is very common, actually, institutions that do manage grants for things, like a small 3 or 5% pass-through, but we can't depend on it. As noted, like, the grants come when the grants come, and there's no guarantees, even though there are lots of grants available. But the grants do represent effort on the part of the board. So, you know, everything is driven by volunteer activity, even the sort of raffle for services. That means that the massage person or the tarot card reader is also donating their services. So I think we have to always be mindful that whatever volunteer activity we're using to generate funds, that volunteer effort is something that we are asking of people too. So, you know, we have to be mindful of each other's space, and we can't, you know, even a bake sale, you know, I love bake sales. Even a bake sale is asking people to donate the baked goods, which are then sold. So, you know, this is a community, and that's how these things work. But we always need to be mindful that participation is itself an effort. And more difficult for many people than you might expect.
I'm raising my hand saying I will actually do the work to make this happen if it's necessary to, but, and this might already exist, but a Venmo account, my artist friends who sell art right now are just selling way more shit with the QR code to a Venmo account on their table, and just like that, having that, like, it's way cheaper than like a tip jar, you know the dip jars, like those have like a super high fee on them apparently, and things like that, but I would totally set that up or something, because
Awesome.
it seems really easy and it works, yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Maybe like a QR code that just goes to the website if there's gonna be like fees or anything associated with Venmo or something like that.
I will say 26th Street Green has been really great. They have their own little Venmo account. You go to an event there, you know, you want a seltzer or a beer, like, it's a donation.
Right.
And so, you know, obviously we can't do beer here, but this is not beer.
As far as I know, there's no fees associated with Venmo, but there are, I know, I've had experiences with PayPal. If you have a business account, there's fees that are like automatically applied, but I think if you just do it as like a regular account, you probably wouldn't have any fees.
And I mean, especially if it's a 501c3, it should be
Yeah,
if it's a
that, it should be fine. Yeah.
Cool, so, I guess like as a closing action to this item, my proposal is that, regarding the fee, the dues process itself, my inclination would be to combine the board elections and the bylaws change for dues rules, to have a vote on both of those at the same time, as a way to have people, you know, kind of go to the voting meeting and as like a way to increase attendance, participation, and simplify logistics. And that in the meantime, we pursue other fundraising methods in addition to encouraging people to pay their dues, and also letting folks know that even without paying the dues, like, the neighborhood is all of ours. Like, everybody that lives and works in the neighborhood has a say in what happens here. And so it's not a requirement for participating in neighborhood decision-making, but legally for the bylaws, it is a requirement for changing the bylaws. And that's the zone we're operating in the meantime. So next, other reports from folks and announcements and other business before we have evaluation and closing. Anything else coming up?
We have our first movie night. So the Harwood side lot is doing their first movie night. Oh God, which day?
What's the Harwood side lot? Which is that?
So I'm on 26th and Greenmount, and we have this like 1 acre side lot that we screen movies in, and we are screening movies, I believe, Thursday the 18th. I can't tell you what movie it is because we kind of just decide right then and there, randomly. But it's like meant for the community of Harwood. It's a free event. It's in partnership with Charm City Companions, a wellness nonprofit that operates out of our storefront. And it's just a real fun time. Movie starts around dark, but we like open up probably around like 6:30 o'clock. 6:30ish. Come hang out if you want to see a free movie in the neighborhood.
You said that was 26 in Greenhouse?
26 in Greenhouse. There's a big blue fence and it says the Harwood side lot, and that's us. And there's even a little enclosure with some flyers that have like the dates and times on it. See you there.
Awesome. Real quick update on what's happening on the other side of Greenmount Avenue between 27th and 28th Street. So we're in the construction business, not together necessarily. We have, I think, by the end of June, we'll have at least 3 new homeowners in the neighborhood.
The folks will come to the meetings.
We know, I was thinking, where are the new homeowners? Because we have, since, let's think, the beginning of 2021, I mean, I think we have, I don't know, 7 or 8 new homeowners. Bottom line is we're making progress.
Yeah.
And that's obviously good for everyone. Last week, quick announcement, this, you could think that this is shameless self-promotion, it's not intended to be. We finally broke ground on what will be called the East Harwood Innovation Hub, next to our warehouse on Matthew Street. It'll be a 2,500 square foot building, consisting of 4 units for plumbers, electricians, HVAC mechanics, ideally folks in the construction trades. But it could be a small warehouse space for anybody, about 650 square feet per unit. So hopefully that will bring some business to the neighborhood. Toki?
I'm sorry, so these are like.
Garage space.
Garage,
Work,
okay.
you know, workspaces, it
Got
could be
it.
a fabricator or
Yeah, like
trade.
welder shop or, yeah.
Correct.
Trade artist spot, you know, it's.
Furniture maker.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, I don't know, welders.
All of the above.
Yeah, cool.
Then the restaurant's coming. It's,
Some point.
I mean, it's physically there, but they need a little more help, I think. We're gonna help some more, try to get home.
When did they project it to?
April 17th.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the date, but
That was the date.
it's May 1st, so.
Well, that to look forward to, or not look forward to.
They're having trouble getting grant money that they need to buy equipment. I do know that.
Yeah, they did say they haven't got any grant.
Yeah.
We have some.
They
we have some
awarded it, but they
equipment
didn't
there,
get it, so.
Do they have a restaurant in DC also?
Yeah.
Just borrow. Borrow some of your equipment.
That restaurant in DC is just tiny.
Oh,
It
it's
probably
so small.
seats 20 people max.
Okay.
Are they
Not
trying to
even
buy a
half
liquor
this.
license?
They haven't already.
Oh, yeah, they got that.
So there's a,
Came with the restaurant license.
So another thing coming up is the Able Street Festival is coming up in September. I think it's a major anniversary, maybe the 50th anniversary or something like that. And so Able is our neighborhood to the north. We're like physically in it right now. And the street festival's often only a block or 2 north of Harwood's border. So I think I think it'd be really cool both for Harwood folks to attend, but also for Harwood folks to like vend and participate and be part of the organizing of that. Last year, I was the volunteer organizer for it, and I will be again this year. And so if anybody has any ideas of like businesses or groups or artists that might want to be to table at the event or pitch in at the event, that'd be really cool. And also ways for it to like amplify Harwood and to like build relationships with Able would be really cool.
And we used to have a combined meeting with Able in November. They would have the Harwood and Able meeting here, where it was a potluck, and everybody would bring a dish. And it really was nice, because we shared a lot of ideas.
That sounds like a lovely thing to resume.
So, I mean, I think it's worthwhile, and we, feed off of each other in terms of ideas. I used to work their festival also. But,
As far as Able, isn't, you're better friends with the people that run that, but, isn't Porch Prom this Wednesday? I have it in my calendar.
I think
Porch
you're right,
Prom.
yes, Porch Prom.
Well, Porch Prom this Wednesday. When is it?
I might
Anyway,
be wrong. I don't
but
think-
it's right in Able Street. It's Able and 31st or something. Porch Prom. So basically, it's like a prom themed street party, and people dress up for prom and dance in the street, and there are tables and photo booths, and it's very cute and wholesome, and very like come as you are, very like open like expression.
So it's, hold on, give me a second, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I spoke too soon, I have to actually read.
And it's a lot of fun.
While you're looking for that, are there any other announcements or anything else people are
I just
excited
want to
about?
announce, if you have children 5th grade and under, we're giving out 4 tickets to the Port Discovery
Nice.
for the month of May.
Is that the library?
Over at the-
Yes, at the library. All libraries in the city, they're giving out 4 tickets to the Port Discovery for any children 5th grade and under who have a library card.
Cool, that's great.
Cool.
When is it again?
Started today and will go on until the end of May.
Okay.
I have a flyer if you guys want one.
Thank you. Yeah, if you want to pop the flyer up on
Flyer.
the table
She
here
also
for people
can
to,
scan it in.
I don't know if Evaluation. Let's close by, basically, it would be really helpful, like, as we iteratively improve and as we, like, figure out best practices as a neighborhood association. If anybody has, like, feelings about how the meeting went, sort of the structure of the meeting, so what did you love about it, what did you hate about it? I'd love to hear some input. I don't know if it's best to go around in a circle or for people to just sort of jump out with things.
No, I don't mind talking first, but I think the topics were good. I think, I wish there were more people here to hear the topics so that they would know, the things that we're working on, that to benefit the neighborhood, but I think the topics were good.
Michael, I think you're doing a great job, and I appreciate what you're doing, because it can be thankless, and I totally agree with you, Vaughn. We need more people to come out, and I'll volunteer to put flyers in the mailboxes of our new homeowners, because we need more participation. More people will, many hands make light work, as they say, and I think would make a better association.
You should flyer every week, every month, right before the meeting. We used to do that.
You can talk to me about that. If there are volunteers to do that, that would be great.
I'll do the east side, always.
Okay,
I'll always do
excellent.
that.
I think this may actually be an opportunity, and this actually ties to the idea of flyering at the farmer's market. My neighbor, who has been there for twice as long as I have, I think 15 plus years, when we did the dumpster day, the only reason she knew about it was because of the flyer, and she had never seen a flyer for a dumpster day before.
Really?
And which maybe not paying attention. I'm not gonna pass any judgment there, but flyers really do work, especially like I mean, when I think about like what we're doing. Obviously, we have limited capacity, but there are people that don't know. Most of the people in this neighborhood, I'm sure, don't know that we're here right now, and that's not their fault. It's because we have limited avenues for publicity, and if we can put stuff, even if it's on like, I think about like what I was seeing when I moved to this neighborhood like 8 years ago, and like even like seeing flyers on telephone poles and stuff like that. Like I think it would probably help us to be a bit more proactive.
Can't put them on telephone poles. That's illegal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of illegal stuff that happens in this. I'm not saying put them on telephone poles. I'm saying if somebody put them on a
We have the
telephone
board in
pole.
front of the garden, we can use that board also.
Yeah, so I was gonna say.
But
We do.
you can,
How about we put some in the liquor store?
Yeah, they put it in the liquor store, lots of people.
If there was like an annual evergreen flyer, I would absolutely put that up in our little, like, first month, here's our website.
Yeah, a lot of cafes and stuff usually have little corners.
Maybe the bread shop, Monty Bread.
Oh, that's right.
All over windows.
So it sounds like Mia has an idea.
I was just thinking like the warmer weather, maybe we could like possibly meet outdoors, and maybe that could be like a way to get people in. If they see like a big group of people, they're like, what are they doing? That's like if we find like a good space outdoors and everybody's on board for that, but that could be nice for like the warmer weather and stuff.
We break for the summer though, correct?
What's that?
Are there meetings in June, July, August?
There will be.
June, but not July and
Right,
August.
July and August, no.
No meetings.
Didn't think so.
Is there,
June
That's
is.
just-
Or September.
That's always been our schedule.
Yeah.
It's July and August because people go on vacations.
Oh, holidays, yeah.
After
Interesting.
school, after school closes, a lot of people take a lot of vacations in July and August. August, they're getting ready for school, so, you could change it. I'm just saying, that's been that's
Sure,
been
yeah,
the
yeah.
goal.
I got an idea. This would depend upon Matt being willing to be a gracious host.
Yeah.
Why not do like a year, like make the June meeting, like, if you could, at your space, and do a little barbecue, get people out.
So I'm totally open to it. Totally open to that idea. As an events person, I would definitely want to still have something like this space reserved as a backup in case it ends up being a rainy day. Like, because I wouldn't want That's it. And food is legit, though I learned that unless you have a license, it needs to be prepared off-site.
Off-site.
But I'm pro food too. But yeah, if that's something that feasibly makes sense in June. I am one person representing a collective, so I can't just say yes to things immediately, but this is a pretty easy ask considering what we have, so totally open to it.
And that seems like a cool idea to me, so I'd be open to also exploring Plan B so that we can definitely have like an outdoor option for June.
Yeah, check it out on the 18th, see if it feels good.
Sounds cool. Other evaluation comments?
Was there, anyone whose role was to keep stack at all? Or was that discussed at all?
I'm sorry, say,
I didn't say that again?
Was there anyone whose role was to keep stack or, you know, like, keep track of whose hands are up and in what order?
Not really. So as a facilitator, that was sort of my responsibility and I didn't delegate it.
I was just curious, because there was a couple moments where people were like, kind of hesitant or had hands up and then like, kind of gave up at points.
we have
Thank you.
a gentleman who usually facilitates, who's usually very good at that, but.
We're settling for me today.
Yeah, we're this is maybe like one or two steps less,
Okay.
you know.
Concise.
Catch you some cash, yeah.
Humor to the,
We should also make this a facilitating for LMA.
Oh, it's good.
I'll say that we didn't start on time, but we didn't start dramatically late, which I liked, and we're ending early, which I like, and not for lack of stuff to talk about. Yeah. So I like the fit of the time for today.
And also, Mike, you did great facilitating. Despite everyone talking about your superior.
Yeah, you know, I'll say a critique of myself as facilitator is I think I'm wearing a lot of hats all at the same time. And I think that is actually a major downside for facilitation. So I think it's the historic norm for most neighborhood association presidents to also be the chair people at meetings. And I think it's generally a bad idea. And so I think what I would love to see is like a more facilitation rotation. So we've had a really cool facilitator lately. But it'd be good to have other people step into this role as well.
And on top of that, Mike, I'm sorry, Dan
Can we
has
hear what
offered,
Isaac's saying? Oh, what did Isaac say?
so Dan has offered to train people in facilitation. He's offered to do like, he's great. He's offered to show people how to teach, like this is how you facilitate. We'll maybe have that come up at the next meeting, because it would be great if he could hand that duty off to other people who can use it as an opportunity for skill building.
Cool. So if there are no more evaluation comments, meeting adjourned, and speak with Isaac to talk about MOU stuff. Give strong feelings about the language of that. Thanks, everybody.